All right, today we're going to dive into the tangled, twisting plot of the 2009 psychological thriller Shadow. Now, this is a film that's an absolute master at pulling the rug out from under you. It leads you down one dark, scary path, and then, boom, reveals you were in a completely different story the whole time. So let's try and piece this whole puzzle together. Okay, so just imagine this for a second. You've finally done it. You're on that big trip to find some peace, to just escape everything. But then, what if that escape turned out to be just another kind of prison, a trap built inside your own head? That is the huge question at the heart of this movie.
All right, section 1, a tour turns terrifying. So our story starts with a setup that, feels pretty familiar. We've got a guy who's just looking for a clean slate, a fresh start. He's trying to outrun his past, but as you and I both know, especially in a thriller, the past has a real funny way of catching up with you.
So, let's meet our main guy, David. He's a veteran, retired from the war in Iraq, and after everything he's seen, all he wants to do is find some peace. And for him, that means finally going on this dream cycling tour. So here he is, pedaling through this beautiful but really remote countryside, doing his best to leave everything that happened over there behind him.
So he pulls over at this kind of lonely, middle-of-nowhere bar, and that's where he meets Angeline. She seems to be a fellow traveler, another person just passing through this quiet, isolated spot. And right away you can feel this little spark, this immediate connection. It's like they both know they're outsiders here.
And of course, almost immediately, trouble walks right in the door. It shows up in the form of these two local hunters, and they are not friendly. They start giving Angeline a hard time. And David, well, being the guy he is, his soldier instincts just kick in. He can't let it slide. He steps in, and that one single act of standing up for her, it lights a fuse. He has no idea, but he's just made two incredibly dangerous enemies.
All right, part 2, the haunted shadow. So later that night, David and Angeline happen to meet again, and as they're sitting around a campfire, the film throws this awesome curveball at us. It introduces this layer of spooky, supernatural folklore that just completely changes the entire atmosphere.
And this is where things get really, really creepy. Angeline drops this huge piece of lore on him. She tells David that the woods they're in, this whole area, it has a name. People call it the Shadow. And yeah, it comes with a ghost story, a local legend that suddenly feels way too real for comfort.
So here's the legend she lays out for him. Back during World War II, a group of civilians, we're talking men, women, kids, they were hiding from soldiers in a mine right around here. But the soldiers found them. They threw grenades in and then sealed the entrance. No one made it out. And the story goes that now all those souls are trapped here, forever haunting this exact forest.
Okay, section 3, captured by a nightmare. So with this incredibly eerie story just hanging in the air, that real-world threat, the hunters, comes roaring back. And this time, it's not just about a grudge anymore. This has escalated into a desperate, terrifying fight for survival.
So the next day, it all just explodes. The hunters spot them and the chase is on. They're tearing through the forest. David, tapping into his old training, he manages to get them to flip their car. For a second you think, phew, they're safe, but that relief lasts for about 5 seconds. The hunters unleash their dog to track them. Their only option? They have to run deeper and deeper into those misty, haunted woods, that place called the Shadow. And get this, it's so creepy that even the dog slams on the brakes and refuses to go in.
And this is where the film just completely flips the script on us again. Inside that thick mist, everyone gets lost and separated. And suddenly, the hunters become the hunted. There's a new threat in here, something or someone else, a mysterious figure that starts picking them all off, one by one. That whole thing with the hunters, it doesn't even matter anymore. There's something way, way worse out here in the woods.
Eventually, David is caught. He blacks out. And when he wakes up, well, the nightmare has become reality. He's tied to a table. And get this, the two hunters, the guys who are chasing him, they're tied up right there next to him. And then, out of the shadows, this silent, absolutely terrifying figure emerges, their captor.
And the horror here, it is just visceral. I mean, this captor doesn't make a sound. He just grabs one of the hunters and puts him on this metal table that he heats up until the guy's skin is literally melting off. It is an unbelievably gruesome scene. And David, trying to be defiant, just glares at him. So the captor punishes him, by taking a blade and slicing off his eyelid, forcing him to keep watching.
Somehow, fueled by just pure adrenaline, David manages to break his restraints. And in this moment that just says everything about who he is, he doesn't just bolt for the door. He actually stops to free the other hunter, his enemy. They make this desperate run for it together, but it's useless. The captor is just relentless. David is caught again, and he's dragged right back into that house of horrors.
And right there, right at the absolute peak of all this terror, when you think it can't get any worse, the film just pulls the rug right out from under all of us. It poses a question that completely reframes every single thing we've just watched.
Okay, part 4, the reality behind the dream. So it turns out everything we've been watching was just a story inside of another story. So now let's start peeling back those layers and find out what was really going on.
David's eyes flutter open. But there's no dark cabin, no torturer, no smell of blood and fear. The horrifying forest has just vanished. Instead, he's in a bright, clean, sterile hospital room. The shift, the whiplash from that nightmare to this reality is it's totally jarring.
And then the puzzle pieces just start slamming into place. He sees these familiar faces, but their roles are all wrong. That gruff bar owner, that's his doctor. And Angeline, the mysterious woman he was trying to save, she's his nurse. The entire thing, the chase, the ghost story, the torture chamber, none of it was real. It was all a massive, elaborate nightmare his brain cooked up while he was in a coma.
Part 5. Decoding David's trauma. So now that we know it was all a dream, the big question is, why? Why that dream specifically? A nightmare that detailed and horrifying doesn't just pop up out of nowhere. It has to be a reflection of something real, something incredibly painful.
And this chart just lays it all out, plain and simple. His brain basically took his real-life trauma and filtered it through a horror movie lens. So those 2 aggressive hunters, they were symbolic of his 2 fellow soldiers in Iraq. The haunted mine from Angeline's spooky story, that was a stand-in for a real mine massacre he was part of. Angeline, the mysterious traveler, she was a dream version of his real nurse, maybe someone whose voice he could hear while he was unconscious. And the sadistic torturer, the most terrifying part of the dream, well, that was the physical shape of his own guilt and trauma.
What we've been witnessing is really just a powerful, vivid picture of post-traumatic stress. This wasn't some random nightmare. It was David's mind working overtime, desperately trying to make sense of an absolutely unbearable memory from the war. See, in Iraq, his squad had trapped some rebels in a mine. But one of his own guys, against David's protests, threw a grenade in. It killed everyone, including civilians who were hiding in there. David was just horrified. And in the huge argument that broke out right after, another grenade, one they were carrying, accidentally detonated.
Okay, our final section, the tragic final truth. So as David lies there in the hospital, slowly putting the real memories back together, he's holding on to one thing, one dream for his future. But there's one last, devastating piece of reality that he hasn't faced yet.
He looks at his nurse, the real Angeline, and he tells her that as soon as he's healed up, he's going to finally finish that cycling tour. It's the one piece of his dream, the one part of his old life that he's clinging to. It's his beacon of hope for the future.
And this is the final crushing gut punch. We, the audience, we figured it out. We know the grenade blast is what landed him in the hospital and what killed his squad mates. But there's one more detail, one more piece of the truth about what that blast did to him. And this is the final heartbreaking truth. His dream of getting back on his bike is just that, a dream. The accident that killed his friends also took his legs. The entire film, A Nightmare Born from Trauma, ends with a waking reality that is, in its own way, just as terrifying. It leaves us to wonder, which prison is worse, the one in the mind or the one in the world?